acting superintendent. Why don't you start out by introducing yourself?
Okay, there you go. If you click on Matt Moyer. I'm currently the acting superintendent at Traffic Services in Toronto, and I oversee traffic and parking, the parking responsibility as well, which is a very big portfolio. You're looking at about 300 people in traffic, about 400 in parking. I expect to see all 700 at the Christmas party this year, but that's sort of who I'm trying to get my head around all of this. It's a tremendous group of people, but that's also carries with it a tremendous amount of responsibility. So
with great power comes great responsibility. Will you use your powers for good?
I'm going to try. If they would have got me a cape, I think it would have been so much easier. But
hey, it's not too late. It is not too late, Matt. We can get you a cape if that makes you feel more comfortable.
I think it would, if you don't mind, please. Please.
Okay. So speaking of capes, speaking of uniforms, I gotta say that right now you're wearing your white shirt. You're in your office by the looks of it. I get that you're a police officer. You're heading up this, a lot of people. But I feel like anybody who meets you outside your uniform, just wearing your, jeans and a t-shirt, would not believe that you are an acting superintendent at Toronto Police. Like, you are so not, just in the previous conversations that we've had, you are so not what I think people would think of as like a stereotypical police officer. And you're such an interesting guy. So let's just start at the beginning with itty bitty Matt Moyer. Tell me the story of, how you came to be, your childhood, your massive family.
So blessed. I'm part of 10 children. And mom and dad grew up in, I guess you'd call it 53 Division, Yonge and Eglinton area. And mom and dad and 10 kids in the house and one washroom.
What? I didn't know that.
And I have grieved that over the years, and it's fallen on deaf ears. One washroom. And when you have 6 sisters, it's like a rotating door. And 3 brothers and my mom and dad. So now I'm number in the line. I'm number 9. Dad was a baseball player, and really for him, it was like he was so excited. His career had started off. He was playing A-ball out of St. Catharines, and he had decided that he wanted to have one child for every position on the field, plus a bat boy, 9 plus 1. And my mom said, "All right," and away we went. So here we are, 10 kids later. Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to have that story and to have that goal, but then to actually follow through.
Yep.
And have 10 kids and one bathroom. You're not talking just for the kids. You're talking for your entire family. 12 people sharing one bathroom.
Yes, one bathroom. Like, it's a good sized house, but an older house, but one bathroom. So it was unbelievable.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what was it? Tell me some more stories if you can about like growing up in a house with 9 siblings and your parents. What was that like, bathroom aside?
Noisy. We had a big hi-fi on the main floor. It was always records. It was, my dad did not like the Rolling Stones, but he was a very religious guy, but very big on the Beatles and Peter, Paul and Mary and the Loving Spoonful and stuff like that. So, and he actually, when he came back, he went to the war, came back, he ended up working for Warner Brothers. And very funny. I remember him came home one day and he said, "Oh, I've got all this paraphernalia from this marketing program and balloons and these toys and t-shirts. Who are Led Zeppelin? Who is Led Zeppelin?" My brothers and sisters are like, "Oh, we've never heard of that. That's, it's very funny because it wasn't the Beatles. Like, how dare you?" So I went, I had no idea who they were, but there's my dad introducing rock and roll to our house.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, wait, were the Beatles not considered sinful back then as well? I thought that they were considered sinful just like the Rolling Stones would have been.
Well, they might have, but I don't know if my dad really ever heard the comment that John Lennon made about thinking they were bigger than God. So he might, God heard it.
Yeah.
Some of the Moyers heard it, but I think he got away with that one. So, but yeah, no, that was my dad was like, he loved the music. And, back then, of course, He loved Sinatra and all this kind of stuff. We always had music on in the house. So it was a big part of our life in our main room. But I'll tell you, you sit at a table with your mom at one end and your dad at the other, and brothers and sisters, and you've got food in the middle. Feast or famine.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were just eating very quickly. It wasn't like talking very loudly around the table, because I'm one of 4 kids only, and it was hard to get a word in edgewise, like around our dinner table. Or were you guys just like shoveling food into your mouth and talking? And like, describe that for me.
Well, conversations nonstop going on, and my dad loved it. This was his quality time with the family. To hear everybody going back and forth, and this cross-pollination going on across the table and so on and so forth. He freaking loved it. And my poor mother, up and back and forth, bringing more plates from the kitchen, this and that, so on and so forth. But how do you cook for 10? That's the other thing. And that was, but mom did it. Mom always did it. And some of my brothers and sisters left the house, like they moved on.
Yeah.
The numbers got smaller. And I think I was 14 when I finally saw dessert. It was that bad. So, but it was great though. Like I learned so much listening to my brothers and sisters, what was going on like in their world. But
yeah, it sounds like you had such a beautiful childhood. And so, okay, so your mom and dad had 10 kids because they wanted a player for a kid for every position on the baseball field, plus a bat boy. So did you guys all play baseball? I know you played baseball when you were younger, but did your family ever take to the field together?
No. Oh yeah, we did up at my cottage. Everybody did. My father could hit a ball a mile, so he would hit balls, and like 4 or 5 of us would take gloves on the beach and vie for fly balls, and we did that a lot. So that was a lot of fun. But you know, I had a sister that played baseball, and she was very good, and played school ball and played. I think she went on in university, high school. She played high school ball. I think my brother Jim played, and I played, and that was about it. So,
and you were quite good, right?
I was, but you know what? The problem, I shouldn't say I was. I thought I was a good ball player. My dad coached me for a while. I had a few chances to sort of pursue my career, but my dad died when I was going into grade 10. So I'm 15 years old, and I played at North Toronto, and I played a little bit at Leaside at that time. And I thought that's what I wanted to spend more time doing. And then, you know what, I just kind of, it didn't have the same meaning. I lost focus, let's say. And he got leukemia, and he was a big man, and he just up and passed, and away we go. And I had to move on, but I took it hard for a year. So I didn't, you know, still playing hockey, still doing other things, but it definitely knocked, put a cramp in terms of my future, let's just say. But you know what? I blessed again, surrounded by good people. I had good teachers at school that kept me on track. So I was lucky. So
when you came out of that fog after that year or so, while you were grieving your father, you came out as what? Because you got into so many other things. I know you said you kept playing hockey. I know you coached, you reffed from what I recall from our previous conversations. Yeah. So just tell me what happened after that point in your life. I started refereeing more often. I got a chance to do it. And there was a fella on the street, another dad, and this guy, David Crow, and David was going to our referees clinic, and he goes, you know, I remember him saying, come on, Matt, I'm going to take you on Saturday. Let's go. You and I were going to go to this level 1 referees clinic. And I went, okay. And I did. And I passed the clinic. I got a part-time job out of it. So I'm refereeing minor hockey. And that was really fun. I eventually stayed with it. I refereed in the MTHL, in the OHA. And I got I made it all the way to my level 5, which, you know, is pretty high in Canada. And, but that's it. I didn't go any further. I did that for a few years, and I went around refereeing in different areas of Southern Ontario. And at that time, I was going to Ryerson, because that's what it was called back then. I think but I forget what it's called now. But anyway, Metropolitan University of Toronto, something. No,
way too big for a T-shirt.
Yeah, I know, whatever it is. The Met. I like to just call it the Met.
Yes, that's
They could wrap it around a shirt. They could wrap it around a shirt.
Yeah,
but what was formerly known as Ryerson, you did your BSW, right? Bachelor of Social Work.
Yeah, I like that. It was not many guys.
Why BSW? What made you go in that direction?
I don't know. I think because I kind of had this helping people thing in my head. And they said, you should do your BSW. So I had to go for all these interviews to see if I was of the right mindset to get into Ryerson. And I got in there, and there's about, 60 people, 50, 60 people in the program. And I think there was like 5 guys. And it was like really awkward, very awkward.
Really?
So,
okay, so, but let's just pick up on that thought, because you said you think you had this helping people thing in your head. Where do you think that came from?
Probably from my family, my mom and dad, and their values, because my dad was one of those guys, and mom that, they were members of the Catholic Women's League, and they were married. My dad did a lot of work for different charities, and he helped out with different things. He actually went door to door for certain politicians and so on and so forth. So he was more of a community guy. My dad was the kind of guy that on a Saturday morning would say, okay, grab the ladders. I said, why? It's Saturday. Oh, the neighbor down the street is doing his eave troughs. Oh, so I have to go and do the eave troughs. Or some other guy's painting or something. So my dad was always doing that thing. So I think that's where it came from.
I really love that. I really love that. You see somebody doing something and you think, I can, you know what? It actually reminds me of my husband, my partner, Matt, because we were at my sister's place a couple weeks ago, and she said, we saw something, I think there was like leaking coming from her eaves troughs. She said, oh, we got to get our eaves troughs cleaned out. And my husband said, well, I could do that. I could do that for you right now. And I'm like, he's one of those guys too, who just like volunteers if he's something he can do. And so 30 minutes later, he was up on the roof cleaning out the eaves trough. Like she could have, anyway, I digress.
That's okay. All right.
I want to, we're still a little ways away from your policing career. So I want to get into the musician in you, because that was a big part of you too, before you got into policing. Tell me about Mirror Image. Tell me about your time in what would it have been? The 80s? You were traveling around Toronto from club to club?
Yeah. So in the 80s, we had a band, guys in the neighborhood. These are all neighborhood guys I grew up with. We put this band together, and we liked our sound. We were Mirror Image. 1 or 2 guys, a drummer and a keyboard player. Bob Reed was our keyboard player.
Bob Reed of Touchdowns and Fumbles on News Talk 1010. That's
Bob.
Okay.
Still one of my closest
small world.
friends.
It's a small world, the communications world. Right. Okay.
So we had a band, and we started playing some small gigs, and then we got hired, taken on by an agent by the name of Dave Kaplan, who booked for the Chicken Deli. Next thing you know, we're in the Chicken Deli. Nags Head North, Nags Head South. We're going everywhere, doing all these gigs, and it was a lot of fun. So can I tell you one quick story?
Yeah, of course. You can tell me many quick stories or long stories, whatever. It's your time.
I think this is funny. So we get asked through Dave Kaplan to go down to Larry's Hideaway.
Right. And for anybody who's not familiar with Larry's Hideaway, paint a picture for us, because this is a pretty famous Toronto dive bar, let's say.
Yes, it is. So it's on Carlton, just east of Jarvis. Yeah. And it's dodgy. It's dodgy. And there's a lot of dodgy people around it. I know dodgy is not a politically correct term, but I'm sticking to dodgy.
We don't see dodgy anymore. I wasn't aware. Hey, okay.
Yes. A dodgy area filled with dodgy characters. And that's all I'll say. So we go down, and the guy says, yeah, good. You're going to do Friday and Saturday night. I need 2 sets out of you. 7:30 and 9. 2 full sets. Yep, that's good. We agree. And I had done all the negotiating with these guys. You come highly recommended. There you go. So the night of it, we go down and we put all our equipment in the room, and we come out, and we're like sort of putzing around the area. And like, did I mention it was a dodgy area?
Yeah, a little bit.
So we're coming back to the bar for 7:30, and it's freaking packed. And there's people lined up on the street. And I meet the doorman or the manager up front, and I said, what is going on? He goes, Oh, they forgot to tell you, there's a band going to open for you. They're just going to do a quick half-hour set, just half hour. Okay. And who's this band? He goes, oh, they're called Free Beer. So they posted signs all over, like Jarvis and Sherburne and Gerard, Free Beer, Larry's Hideaway tonight. Come at 7. It's packed. Both nights packed. So
those guys must have sold out every place they played.
Unbelievable. They were horrible.
Oh, really?
They were. I think the guitar player had 5 strings on his guitar. They were the worst, but it didn't matter. They were called Free Beer. And I always remember that. It was very fun. And I still have my receipts. I don't have them with me. But from the night we played Larry's Hideaway.
Wow. Amazing.
That's very funny.
Okay. So I haven't asked you yet, what kind of music were you playing?
So we were doing, at that time with Mirror Image, we were doing sort of classic rock and roll and a little bit of R&B. But that's what people wanted to see in a cover band. So it's very funny. You could go in, as soon as you hit a song, somebody go, oh, I love that song. You go, okay, good. We're all right.
Yes.
So,
yes. Well, especially if you're following Free Beer, which was an awful band, as you said, like they set the bar pretty low, right? They bring in the crowds, they set the bar low. They're probably like the best band around to follow it by the sounds of it, right?
I wish I could have tagged them to a few other bars. I can take them places we needed them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but that's funny. But that's how we started with Mirror Image. So
okay, so that was a bunch of guys from your neighborhood, like the Yonge and Eglinton neighborhood. Yep. I understand that you also got into breakdancing from a guy in your neighborhood. This is something that a little bird told me, not something I think that you were planning on discussing. So,
So I, do you remember Ann Johnson, the city councillor?
No, but I'm not originally a Torontonian. I didn't move there until 2006.
Okay. So Ann Johnson lived around the corner. Her son, Rob Johnson, we used to call him Rubber. Rubber and I were really good friends. And I remember Rubber saying to me one day, we used to go to this dance club every so often. He goes, oh my God, look at all these guys who can break dance. I said, yeah, it's kind of cool. He goes, we should try that. And I went, yeah, right. So I remember him coming to my house and saying, Matt, we got to figure this out. Come on, let's take it on. Let's figure it out. Oh my God, this guy killed me. We worked so friggin' hard to try to see if we could break dance. And we worked on it. We got a couple of guys to help us that we knew. And we sort of got it down to the part where it looked pretty good, I will say. And then Robbie was babysitting for a lady on our street on Albertus, and she worked for Sears. She comes to Robbie and says, can you, any chance you'd be willing to do this fashion show for Sears? But we need breakdancers.
That sounds so random.
I know.
Breakdancers at a Sears fashion show? Why?
So we had nylon red Adidas jackets, which everyone wore back then.
Yeah.
Please don't ask my wife. She'll tell you I still have it. I still have my nylon red Adidas jacket. You can borrow it.
Tell me you have a picture of yourself wearing this that you can share with us. Do you?
No, I do not. And if I did, I do not. So we did this fashion show, and it was really cool. It was like big audience. We'd run off, put this uniform stuff on, go out, do a fashion show, dance, this and that, come off, put another uniform on. It was very fun.
Do you still have any of your breakdancing moves, Matt Moyer?
Well, I'm on carpet. So, we used to, I don't know if I'm, my wife, actually, I'll tell you something funny. My wife says I should show you this. So can your camera, I promise not to break dance. My wife says to me, she goes, what is your break dancing going to look like? This was a joke we said. And, when you're 80, because, your body's so born. And I said, it'll look like this. Look, I'll have my walker, and I'll take my walker. So that'll be me when I, and she goes, you got to just keep moving the arms and keep moving the body. And so, but I think it was just a fun time in my life. It was a couple
Oh my God, that's hilarious. You're going to keep your wife laughing like through the decades. That is so funny.
I think she laughs at me.
Whatever.
She with me.
Hey, as long as she's laughing, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So, how old were you around this time? Like, Mirror image, the breakdancing. What are we talking?
See, I'm 85 now. Early 20s, like early 20s. And right after Mirror Image, I joined East Meets West with Bob Reed.
Okay. Okay. So Mirror Image, East Meets West. Okay. So you are playing club to club in Toronto. You are coaching hockey at this time too. Were you coaching hockey around here too?
I was coaching hockey in North Toronto. Yeah.
And you had one famous student from what I understand.
Yeah. He kind of didn't go anywhere in life.
Or not student. I guess player. Goalie by the name of?
Keanu Reeves. So when I was 23, 22, I coached the midget selects at North Toronto. Mm-hmm. And my goalie was Keanu Reeves. And I'm telling you, I don't think he's the best actor in the world, but he is a great goalie. He was really good and very athletic guy. And he was going to North Toronto, I think, at the time. And I remember I always get a kick out of this. Myself and Scott Moyer were coaching. And he comes to me and says, Matt, I know we got a game on Friday or something. And I said, yeah. He goes, I can't make the practice on Thursday. And I went, okay, but I can't start you on Friday if you skip the practice. Mm-hmm. He goes, I know, but he goes, I got play practice. And I went, okay, like I'm okay with that, but you just can't make it. He goes, yeah, but could we just kind of like, kind of keep it under wraps? I said, yeah, no, that's fine. So I make the mistake of telling Scott Moore why he's not going to be at practice. And Scott Moore makes the mistake of telling, I don't know, the team.
What? This was embarrassing for Keanu back then?
Yes.
Oh, Keanu.
Yes. And then, because then the guys in the room were saying, oh, why? Because we only have one goalie for practice on Thursday. They were pissed off. Well, where is he? He's at play practice. What's that going to do? Why is he in play practice? Where's that going to lead?
The Matrix, Bill and Ted's.
I don't know.
Any number of things.
Yes.
And I know you said that he's not the best actor in your mind, but just in case Keanu is watching this, as I imagine he is a very good actor. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. And he's a better goalie.
Okay. Maybe that'll be his next career. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Matt, speaking of acting, you were into acting too, as if you didn't have enough things going on in your life.
Oh,
God. Tell me about actor Matt.
I blame Rubber again, Rob Johnson. So Robbie was he was a second at Second City.
Oh, wow.
And he got me doing improv. So I ended up.
But how? Like he talks you into breakdancing. He talks you into improv. Like these are not just things that people can pick up.
Well, because Robbie and I were very close, and he kind of said, you should try this. It's really interesting. This is what we do. So I started and I went to a few acting sessions downtown. And then I joined a group called Young and Vital, as in the psychologist, Young and Vital.
Yeah, like
and
Jay.
Myself, Robbie,
yeah,
Scott Thompson, Mark McKinney from Kids in the Hall. Who else was in it? I can't remember all the guys who were in it. And we used to perform at Harbourfront on Monday nights.
Wow.
And you perform against other teams.
Okay. And so you're talking like improv battles where at the very end you go scene, like something like that?
That's right.
Oh, cool.
And you're given a topic and you have to work with it. There's no blocking. When someone advances a thought, you have to accept it. Mm-hmm. And it was very good. And we used to get a real kick out of it because if the thought even slightly went a certain direction, well, certain members on our team would be all over it. So it was a lot of fun.
That is so fascinating. Okay, this is all like into your 20s then, right?
Yep.
So you graduate, you got your Bachelor of Social Work, and then I understand you ended up working in a welfare office in Toronto. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And this is where your life takes a bit of a serendipitous turn. So let's just talk about that point in your life. You're sitting there working in the welfare office in Toronto. Where is policing on your radar? Are you like, I want to be a police officer? This has always been my dream through all these other adventures. What was it?
It wasn't on my radar. It was nowhere on my radar.
Never.
No. Like when I thought of policing, I thought of things like who are great police officers or great. I thought of like get
MacGyver.
Smart. Not even MacGyver. Like was too MacGyver was too soon. Like it's like I'm thinking back then. So I I thought, you know, it was nowhere on my radar. It's a short answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only when I'm working in the welfare office and doing fraud reviews and, you know, looking around and still refereeing and stuff like that. It was good. I met a bunch of policemen used to come in and talk to me because they were always looking for wanted parties. And they said, you know, Matt, you know, you work for the city. It's kind of a dead end job. You should be a policeman. And I went, like policeman? And they go, yeah. Like you're already working for the city. You just got to switch your pension over and do this and do that. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And then about 3 weeks later, I get a call from headquarters saying, can I come in for an eye test? And I'm like, I'm sorry, an eye test. Yeah, you have to have an eye test and fill out this application if you want to be a policeman. So I thought, okay, like I kind of felt like I had the wind at my back. I went, maybe I'll just do it for fun. So I went down and I got through, and then I went through the process of what you go through. And it's really interesting, like the whole process, because I'd never been through anything like that. Mm-hmm. And the next thing I know, I got this letter, and I went and told my mom. I said, I'm going to be a policeman. And the conversation was so funny. Mm-hmm. Like, do you mean a policeman? I said, well, I think so. And you mean, like, are you going to wear a uniform? I guess so. And do you have a gun on your? I think it comes with the uniform. Like, we were laughing, the two of us, back and forth. I really had no idea. I said, anyway.
So none of your other 9 siblings became a police officer?
No way. Not even close.
You didn't have anybody else like in your family that was like
nobody.
Okay. So, and just so I'm clear, and I'm not missing any steps, these officers that came to visit you at the welfare office and encouraged you to get into policing, so they did something behind the scenes. They kind of got the ball rolling for you to kind of give you a kick in the butt by the sounds of it.
Yeah, they most certainly did. And they actually gave my name to somebody at recruiting, and recruiting called. They said, we understand you already work for the city. This is an easy one for us. We just have to switch this.
Wow. Okay. But then you mentioned the process. So what was the process then to become a police officer? Because there's like fitness requirements, there is mental testing, right?
The fitness was okay. Still to this day, I can barely lift a coffee cup, but I could run, I could do all the other stuff I could do. The fitness was fun. The psychological testing you do. You have to see the doctor there. You go through. I mean, it's really interesting. So one of the things it does is it gives you this faith in the system, because you can see you have to go through so many steps. Mm-hmm. So clearly, if someone's able to become a police officer, there's been a lot of the background checks, and they came to my house for an interview. At the time, they wanted to, they sit down and, is this where you live? And we're going to talk to your neighbors, and we're going to do this and do that. And I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like,
were you still living at home with your mom?
No.
Okay.
I was at that time I was married, and I was living in Yonge and Eglinton, in an apartment in Yonge and Eglinton.
Okay. So not far from where you grew up then, obviously.
No.
Okay. So tell me then when you started, and what year are we talking? When were you officially hired by Toronto Police?
Hired in 89.
Okay. So 30.
January of 90, I started.
Okay. So 32 and a half years. 32?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the Toronto Police Service when you got hired. Like, what did you, as a kid, shouldn't say kid, young man, going in, having really known nothing about policing, then you're hired. What did your world suddenly look like? What did you learn?
So a lot of structure, a lot of rules, a lot of discipline, none of which I really ever experienced anything like that before. This idea of calling people sir, yes, sir, no, sir, all that kind of stuff. Marching? Who marches? I had to march.
Who marches?
I got to march. Shoot a gun, do this, do that. I never held a gun. I was surrounded by people. I go, oh yeah, I've held this gun and that gun. I'm ex-military. I've done this. How about you, Matt? And I felt like Barney Fife. I was like, it was all new to me. So
Was
Nothing
it
like that.
scary new, exciting new?
At first it was scary new, and then it became exciting new because nothing about the way I was raised prepared me for policing, except maybe the discipline, and obviously the relationship building. But it was like, it was very, you know, there was a lot of structure and format to it. And maybe we're less like that now. I don't know, but I can tell you it was really, I think the closest thing I can relate it to for me is I went to private school and I had the Jesuit priests. And like if you're walking upstairs and the Jesuit priest is coming downstairs in the hall going to class, you stop and go to the right. And you stop on the step. You don't pass him. Little things like that.
Yes.
Well, that was protocol and procedure and respect was huge in policing.
Yes.
You know, as it still is. And it's just back then it was new for me.
Yeah, no kidding. You had said, so like you said, nothing in your life could have prepared you for policing, but earlier in the conversation, and you're reminding me of something that you said in a previous conversation that you and I had, you told me that, you know, you're really raised to be helping people, right? That's what drew you towards social work. Tell me what your mom said. Like one of the things that she said to you when you told her you were going to be a police officer. I know you talked about the gun, the uniform, all that, but she said something about the helping people thing that really stuck with me from one of our previous conversations. Do you recall that comment?
What was mom saying? She talked about, well, she talked about at least I'm going to stay in the helping profession. But I can't remember what the comment we're talking.
It was basically that. I think that you had said to me, like, so you're going to be helping people. And you said, yeah, I'm going to be helping people. So did that feel to be a part of it when you started as a police officer, that you were helping people? Or was it just like so many policies and procedures in front of you that you had to learn before you really got into it and the relationship building and all that stuff?
Well, I think I believed that it was still about helping people, but I had to get through all of the policies and procedures so that I could equip myself to make good decisions. And once you did, and your familiarity with statute and policy and so on and so forth, that allows you to make good decisions. So it was almost like going back to school. You know, there's exams and there's papers and you're studying and so on and so forth. But and I was okay with that. But once I got on, I realized I could sort of, that was my reference point. All those statutes, I could go back to being Matt Moyer and helping people. Like I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to do this or that. I could still communicate in the way that got me to where I am today. You know, so I like that. That was good.
You didn't feel like you had to change as a person fundamentally. You were still the same guy. You
know what? I couldn't fool anybody to think that I was this big tough guy, and that I could be so very physical or intimidating. I'd have more luck killing you with kindness. I couldn't do it. I know who I am, and you have to stay within your scope of and your strengths, and you have to play your strengths. But for me to pretend I was anything else, but no, that's not me. I couldn't do that. But
that said, you did put your acting skills to use. I understand that you didn't work in the drug squad per se, but you did a lot of work when you were downtown, like plain clothes, buying drugs, that sort of thing, to go after the drug dealers downtown though, right?
Yep.
So what was that like? Because I've heard actually, I was just having a phone conversation with another police officer in Toronto who was a certified undercover officer, and he too had done like acting in his younger years.
Yeah.
He said that he really had to draw upon his acting skills when he was going and pretending to be somebody else, because he's not somebody that would usually buy drugs. And you, Matt Moyer, I'm looking at you like you going to private school and all that stuff, and going like, what was that experience like for you?
Well, it's I don't know if it's acting, but it's definitely it's improv.
Okay, there you go, improv.
You don't know the script that the other person is working with. Yes. So I'll give an example. I remember meeting a young lady one day, and I'll just skip right to the point where I bought drugs from her boyfriend. And after I bought the drugs, I had them, and she wanted me to go and smoke the drugs with her and have sex with her. And she wasn't going to leave me until you're kind of put in a really awkward situation, because I need this. And I got to shake you. and I have a takedown team over here, and I'm not interested in your boyfriend, and we are not having sex. We are not. So you don't know the script that they're going to present you with because you have to stay in character.
Yeah. So how did you get out of that one?
I told her that my girlfriend was really sick, that she had to do terrible things to get the money for me to buy for her. And I had to get this to her, but that I would definitely come back and hook up with her later on tonight.
Oh my goodness. And you never went back.
No, I forgot. But yeah, you got to think on your feet.
No kidding.
I've had a few situations where I've had to think on my feet, and like we all have. We all have.
And just like, tell me, like, what was that like too? Because again, like you lived a very sheltered life compared to many of the people that you would end up policing and serving as a police officer. You grew up Midtown Toronto, big, tight-knit family, baseball, hockey, acting, improv, breakdancing, musician. Like, what did you know about the world outside of your bubble going into policing? And like, what did you learn as a police officer, would you say?
So the only thing where I learned outside of policing was in the middle of university. I took 3 months off, and myself and this girl, we went to, actually I'd say it was 2 months, and we went to Europe. And we got one of those Euro-rails.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
And we traveled everywhere. And we went to bed hungry lots of nights, not some nights. We stayed in hostels, dodgy hostels.
Yeah.
A lot of dodgy things going on.
Larry's hideaway all over the place in Europe, I suppose.
2.0.
Yeah.
So, but you also learn, you just saw how people live and the food they ate and the language. I can remember being in a place called Malaga in south of Spain, and I had body lice.
Oh, from the hostel?
Yes, from a dodgy hostel. And I had to go to a pharmacy and try to explain to the pharmacist, and he was like, no compran. And then I finally found a lady in the store. Why she was willing to talk to me, to this day I don't know, she got it. So she told him, and he couldn't sell me the stuff fast enough, the powder. But
no kidding. Yeah, step away.
Get out of the store.
And step away.
Yeah. They're mostly all gone now, so I'm good. But I just wanted to tell you that, again, like all these little experiences, being on the train with the military, going through Europe, and them eating and then sharing food with you and telling you stories. That was my experience. And I know it's small. It was only 2 months of my life, but like it was huge to me because you saw different cultures and languages, and you saw different practices, and you saw the role of the military in countries that we don't have in Canada, stuff like that. So now I'm in policing, and you're meeting, I would meet new immigrants, and a lot of them had these stories as lived experiences. And I would have to talk to them and say, no, I don't want your passport. I don't want your children. I just need your driver's license because you kind of went through 3 stop signs, something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And their frame of reference, but I think I got it after a while. So it was interesting. So,
because of all the travels that you had done. You had told me in one of our previous conversations about, like, just speaking of new immigrants, time that you spent in 53 Division that was very special to you. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because this was in Thorncliffe Park, right, and which is very close to where you lived and grew up, but it was a world that you didn't know. That was one of those worlds that you didn't know until you really policed there, right? Can you tell me about that?
So yeah, it's really interesting. I grew up at Yonge and Egg, but I now live very close to Thorncliffe. I didn't live so close to then, but I got a chance to go, and when I was a staff sergeant in 53, to get involved with the Muslim community in Thorncliffe Park. And I went in there and I was like blown away because there were so many people in such a small area. And I learned after they have the largest population of residential Muslims in North America, no, in the world, living in Thorncliffe, because it's all so jammed in. And I thought, okay, I got to figure this out. Who are these people? And why is it some Muslims are like this and some Muslims are like that? And who doesn't go to the mosque? And why do they call him the imam? And why do I have to take off my shoes everywhere I go? What's that all about? I needed to understand all this stuff. So I don't know why, but I just had a really, where this came from, I had some really great experiences being on some committees. The Community Crisis Response Table in Thorncliffe. They had a youth group there. They had the Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office, the TNO, with Ahmad Hussein, who I'm still good friends with today. Like, honestly, they just, they were great. They welcomed me. And as soon as they did, I was like, okay, I got to learn. I got to figure this all out. And it just really became a good experience. It really became one that I will treasure in my time of policing.
How long were you there for?
3 years, 3 years, I'll say.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, and I just was there like for a presentation, Utopia presentation last week. And I got to see all these people that I haven't seen in a long time. And I was, telling my wife, my partner later, I said, I got home from the meeting and all these people come up and they couldn't remember my first name. So they're all coming up and calling me Moyer, 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 Moyer. Hey, Moyer, Moyer, how have you been? Moyer, Moyer. Like, we're both good. Thank you. We are both good. Thank you.
Oh, I love that.
Sweet. Yeah, it was so good. It was
what? I think that's one of the really cool things about policing in Toronto in particular. Like I've talked to so many officers about all the different places that they've gotten to police. Yeah. There are so many unique neighborhoods, whether, socioeconomically or culturally or what have you. Like you really have a chance to dig your feet in to a totally different world. And like, what an amazing way to grow as a human being, like you grew up in Toronto.
We call it impact and influence is what we call it in policing.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that you get a chance to have an impact and to make an impression, to make a connection and have a relationship. And from there, once you've established that trust and that relationship, you now have an opportunity to have influence in terms of guiding, supporting, mentoring, and working together with people. But it takes that initial contact, that connection, that impact that you have. And sometimes you don't have it. So I was lucky that, in the Muslim community, that they understood my sense of humor, that they understood that my humility, that I went in there not knowing anything, claiming to not know anything. I'm good at that. And then this whole idea of like saying, okay, so what can I do? How can I help? How can I get involved in these groups? And at the same time, they fed me. They brought me to other meetings. They gave me an award. I got an award given to me because of my work done in there. They were very sweet, and I would not turn my back on them today.
What was the award for?
The Kathleen Wynne Community, good guy, good sense of humor, European guy. I can't remember the name of it. It came from Kathleen Wynne from my work in Thorncliffe, so I can't remember.
But it was basically a reflection of like the community building that you did there, and
yeah, it was nice. I didn't see it coming, so I received it in absentia. I wasn't even there when they handed it out, so they had to have it delivered to my house. So
wow, okay. So we talked a little bit about your policing. Now I want to kind of go full circle, not totally full circle, but back to your 20s and your musician. So you were in the I gave it away a little bit. You were in Mirror Image, and then East Meets West, right?
Yes.
And then you found another home more recently, not totally recently, but what was it, 15 years ago or so?
Yeah. So actually 15 years ago, it is.
Okay.
I had the opportunity through someone I know who dropped my name on a member of their band who were auditioning people to sing. And the Faded Jeans are an 8-piece band. They have a sax and a trumpet. They do a lot of blues and R&B, and they love Motown stuff because they love the harmonies. And this friend called me up and said, I gave your name out. Look at this music. I'll go to this practice next Monday. And I thought, you know what? I've been out of it for a while, and I think I'll go and see what it's like. I went. They're all Jewish guys. They're all from Montreal. They all have various business and interests. And it's been a mitzvah ever since. I love them. They're very close to me. They're close friends of mine. We've played some great gigs. We do charity events.
Yes.
So we've all made our money in life. We're making our money.
Yeah.
So somebody offers you $1,200 to play an event at a bar to raise money for one of the charities, Heart and Stroke, Canadian Mental Health, the Canadian Head Injury Brain Clinic. I have to start from the head and go through the body. We don't do the Elbow Society, just so you know. That's out.
Not yet. If they came to you, I'm sure you'd be happy to help, right?
But we have been called by the knee replacement group. So
okay.
So we do, and then someone gives us $1,200 and we say, okay, thank you. That's the $1,200. Now here's $1,000 back. They go, what? Put it back towards your charity. We'll take $200. We'll buy some cords, buy some, put some money towards a new mic, maybe have a beer, whatever it is. And that's why people like calling on the charity bands. So
I love that.
Them. They're so good. I've learned so much. I've been to their weddings, their funerals. I've been given an honorary. I've got a few things from these guys and over the years. But anyway, let's moving on. That's my guys, and to this day, they were all worried. They're older guys, right?
Yeah.
And they're brilliant musicians. And you have to hear them in band practice. You have to hear them because when they're on, it's these are angels playing instruments, is what they are.
Wow.
But when somebody says something or they do something to irritate them, I have to be careful not to perpetuate anything, get in trouble here. It's hilarious to hear them. So you're playing in C. It is in C. He doesn't sing it in C. Why? Why doesn't he sing it in C? He should be in C. Weren't we always in C? I don't know. I can't see. Who's got my glasses? They're on your head. They're on your head. They're great. I love them. They're so good. They give back so much. They're just a great group. So anyway, the point is we're now back in the studio. We started, we've done 3 or 4 studio dates and we have new studio dates and now we'll start getting back to playing again. And
I guess because of COVID, you would have had to take a couple of years off.
These guys are scared of COVID.
Right, of course.
So
of course, I'm saying, of course, like many people were, but because you guys you're not in a band of 20 somethings as you were in your 20 somethings.
No, we're all fighting for the handicap parking spot when we go to a gig. It's all like that. It's gotten to that point.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, you need to tell me some stories because I know you have some funny stories from your performances. You need to tell me the Elvis story that you alluded to.
Oh, I love Elvis. And
who doesn't love Elvis?
So we get hired. It's a big deal. I got to remember, it's the not engineers conference. It was the Christmas party. It was, I think it's this Engineers Association of Ontario or Tool and Dime Christmas party. Some
union Christmas party?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's packed. It's like 1,000 people. They wanted a live band. And then they said, there'll be 1 or 2 other acts, but they primarily wanted the band. Can you do a lot of Motown and dance music and this and that? Yeah, we can. Okay. Got it all lined up. We go and we do the first set and it works great. The people are like loving it and it's all good. And they're clapping and they're cheering. And then this guy says, oh, so we've got this guy going out between sets. He's an Elvis impersonator. And I went, whatever. Like, whatever. So this Elvis guy, he actually looks like Elvis. He goes out and he does a couple of songs. And I like peek through the curtain and go, oh my God, guys, you better get over here. He's doing these songs and people are crying. They want to touch him. Elvis is dead. Stop it. That's not him. It's an impersonator. Stop touching him. They're crying.
Like women.
They're tossing things. They're crying. You're not supposed to do that. Anyway, I go, guys, we are in trouble.
Oh my gosh.
So we go out and finally he comes off the stage and they're crying and all the women are, oh, like this.
Is he missing some pieces of clothing?
He probably was. Yeah. He's number 2 in Canada, this guy.
Oh, the number 2 Elvis impersonator in Canada?
Yes, he won the Collingwood Championship like 2 years before that. Apparently
You
they
did
got
your
this.
research after the fact.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, that's right. So things to look out for.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we go out there and we start the second set, and it's like
Oh, where's
nothing,
Elvis?
nothing. And I remember, do we do any Elvis songs, please? um, it was a uphill battle. End of the second set, not bad. Take a short break, go and do the third set. Now I guess they'd had a few drinks and stuff. They're all up dancing and everyone's going. And the band is going.
Ooh, no
Thank
kidding.
God.
Yeah.
But memo to self, no Elvis moving forward.
Yeah, no Elvis ahead of you. Maybe he can follow you, but
Oh
I mean,
my
even
God.
then. Oh, that is
Brutal.
so funny. Okay, you had another story for me about what was it, curtains lighting on fire or something?
Oh, yeah. We were playing, I can't remember the gig it was for. It was in Scarborough, long story short. And it was an outdoor event, and it was about 300 people. And they wanted a band, and we were playing, and everything was great. And this guy comes up and says, "Oh, we've got somebody going on right in front of your stage here that's going to." He's a juggler, and he is, but he uses these fire sticks, and he's got this going on, that going. I said, "Okay, that's great. How long will he be?" "Oh, 15 minutes. He juggles for the kids and does all that." Well, he sets it's these sticks, like the long sticks they have.
Mm-hmm.
They juggle them and behind the back and everything. And he's got them on fire, and isn't this great? And one drops and something catches fire. So he tries to stomp it. That spreads the fire. Now it's on fire, and it's in front of the stage. And of course, all the guys are like worried about their instruments. So we're like running out and quietly tiptoeing away, carrying these guitars and mics and stuff. And it was, they finally got it all under control, and they got him out of there. They got it, everything fine. And they bring the crowd back in and all this kind of stuff. And I remember, one of the guys in the band, AB, saying, "Okay, so we're going to get back on." And they got the city councilor, and he goes, "Okay, folks, thanks everybody. Everything's under control. Let's get back to some more Motown R&B with the fabulous Faded Blue Jeans." Who the hell is that?
As if this show couldn't get any worse.
I know. So anyway, it was.
That's Murphy's Law. That's
Yes.
Murphy's Law right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. The faded jeans, the faded blue jeans.
I'll kill him. Yes. So
you still
we
impress
haven't-
them, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had the chance to do a lot of work with the Canadian Head Injury Society here in Toronto.
Mhm.
And Danny Kaplan was the executive director, and he's our drummer. And
okay.
So we did a lot of Christmas events and Halloween events. And these are adults primarily that have suffered head injury. So they had fully functional lives, and they've lost, this was explained to me, a certain portion of their ability, their cognitive ability. So some more than others will be able to comprehend. But the key, which is really interesting, is music. They didn't lose music. So when we play a song, we can't use strobe lights, no strobes, no nothing like that, because it'll trigger a stroke or something. So, but the music, and they just get out of their chair. They have walkers, they have social workers, they have helpers assisting them. They come up and they transform. And we're on the stage, and it's interesting. My son is quite a talented musician. He's actually subbed in and played with us. So I've been on stage with my son, and we've done these events, and he's like, "Dad, this is unbelievable. These people, like, maybe they function at a certain percentage during the day, but you wouldn't know it. They are just living an experience." And then you'll see 8 or 10 wheel-trans show up, and they channel them out, and out they go.
Wow.
Amazing. What a great experience. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
That
That's
must
so
just
good.
fill your heart rate up. And you do a lot of work with Special Olympics too, right? And you've played Special Olympics events also.
Yep.
Tell me about the work that you've done with Special Olympics and what that's been like, where that comes from.
My sister-in-law is was a Special Olympic athlete. She won a gold medal in the Olympics.
Wow.
For Canada, probably back in the late 90s. And ever since, that was my connection. And Lisa Porter, she's developmentally handicapped. She is still tied to the hip to me today. I'm no longer in that relationship, but every second day I'm with her mother, my ex-mother-in-law, and at least I see all the time. So I'm still involved, and I do lots of work with I'm on the Special Olympics committee with the Toronto Police, and we've done lots of events with the police to help promote Special Olympics in Ontario. So it's fun, but I bring Lisa to every event. If you look on our police website, you'll see I drag her to every event. I make her put on her medals. And
oh wow, I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay, so I was just gonna ask you. Anyway, I'm gonna switch gears. I lost my train of thought there. Policing, though, we've kind of brought it back to policing there. I know what I wanted to ask you just really quickly, because you mentioned your son. You've got a son. You have a daughter too, I think, right? 2 kids.
So I have an older son where's my phone? I'm going to show you. You're going to check this out. This is so good. This is right here. You ready?
Yes.
This is my older son and his wife gave birth on Sunday.
Congratulations. Yes. Is that your first grandchild?
No, he's giving us Wes. Wes is 4 years old, and this is baby number 2.
Wow.
5 hours after he was born. That's right. I put a Blue Jay hat on him.
Of course you did.
So that's Will. James is our second, and he's in the detective office at 14.
Oh, wow.
Bank of Montreal, and he got bored. He said, I'm tired of working with other people's money. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do, Dad?
Really?
And he joined policing. Yeah, he finished at Western, graduated at Western, and came back and went, I need more out of life.
Wow. And how is he liking it?
He loves it. He's been on 6 years. He loves it.
Wow.
Loves it.
Okay.
He's a very sensitive and compassionate individual, and we're very, very proud of all our kids. But he's good for our service and good for the city.
Yeah.
And our daughter is just finished her first year at NYU. She's in law school.
Oh wow!
And so she's in New York, living in Soho.
Okay.
And
what kind of law does she plan on practicing if she's going to go that route?
Don't know. She's just finished year 1. So, and
wow.
this is and it was a new marriage for me. So I'm not her dad. I'm her stepdad. But she treats me like her dad, and we love her very much. Our whole family does. We take good care of her, and she's very protective of me. So we have a great relationship. So
okay. So question, or I guess maybe more of an observation. So you became a police officer having no interest in policing, having not come from a policing family at all, and now you've made a career of policing 32 and a half years later, and to have a son in the police service, to have a daughter practicing law. What does that mean to you? You've shifted the Moyer dynamics. Let's talk about your son at 14 Division. What does it mean to you to have one of your children policing, given all that you've learned, all that you've seen, all that you've experienced as a police officer?
Well, because I know him and trust him, I think that the service benefits greatly by having him. He's, like I said, he's a thoughtful and compassionate, he's relationship built. And I think it serves his community very well. And we're very, very proud of him. Can I tell you a funny story about him?
Of course.
So I had a medical situation that required surgery close to my heart. I got back to work and I had to go requalify in use of force, which means I have to attend my shooting. I was weak. I lost a lot of weight. And my son, James, says, Dad, you're not going for that course without me. We're going together. And when you partner up to do anything, you partner with me. And in the classroom, you'll sit with me. He was very protective. He didn't want me to get hurt. So I was a staff sergeant at 53 at the time. So we're at the point, we're on the range shooting. And I'm right-handed and he's left-handed. And with our guns, my shell casings go out to the right and his come to the left. And he is covering me in shell casings while we're on the range. And it's very funny because the instructor is coming up and he's going, okay, that's it, stop right there. Oh, Moyer, you're a Moyer. You guys related? Well, since you brought it up, I brought him into the world. And it's very funny because he said, we've never had a father and son.
Oh, really?
On the range qualifying together. So, but that to me was a funny moment. I went, oh my God. I thought back to all those years I was on the job when I first came on, and then here I am standing on the range with my son. It was surreal. It was interesting. It's a lot of fun.
And especially on the range, because you mentioned like having to get used to holding a gun when you were a young officer. Like it was, the thought of holding a gun was such a foreign thing to you. And then to be next to your son and qualifying again. And wow. How many years ago was that? It can't have been long.
No, it was, we think it was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago.
So you have, because you had surgery, you had to requalify?
Because I had to go, it was heart related. It was my aorta. I had an aortic operation. So
even as a staff sergeant, you still have to requalify?
Yeah.
Like, is that when you were a 53 division staff sergeant?
Yeah. If you're carrying a gun, you have to qualify every year and meet the provincial standard.
Okay.
But my son was worried about me being in there doing 3 days of mat routine, takedowns, all this kind of stuff. And he goes, no, you're going to be with me, Dad, all weekend. So we're going to do this together. But it was just, I just remember standing on the range and I remember telling Deb about it and saying, Deb, it was like so weird just standing there. And like, I looked beside him and then, holy shit, that's my son. And he's shooting better than I am. Consistently.
Only because of your aorta, right?
That's right.
Only because of the surgery. I'm sure you're back to tip top now.
You give me a big target, don't tell me I can't use it. I'm going to use all of it. So,
yeah, exactly. As long as you're within that target space. Okay, so
it was a weird experience. It was fun.
So acting superintendent Matt Moyer, 32 and a half years into your career, what have you learned about policing, and perhaps what has changed? Because I imagine a lot has changed since you first started out as a police officer to what the police service is now. Give me some perspective. You're one of the few that's been on the service for long enough that you've seen a lot of things change.
I think one of the things we do now, which I'm very proud of as a policeman, is we actually listen to the community more now than we ever did. And when the community comes out and says, we don't understand, we don't like, we're not sure, we want to understand this, we need an explanation as to why these actions or this direction was taken. I'm not sure we did that when I first came on. We're really good at it now. We hold town halls. We have ISN's internal support networks. We have groups throughout the service right now, which have an active investment in their community, which are constantly communicating. We never did that before. So now all of a sudden you're managing the expectations of this highly multicultural city. And that's really, really important. I love that. I didn't know when I first came on that, I didn't know that it was so important as you do later on when you see how valuable it is. That's, I think, one of the biggest things that we do, the biggest changes.
And what sort of return are you seeing on that? Or is it too early to say?
No, I think that it's, we are seeing a return because nowadays we're putting out the fire before it starts. We're getting in front of things when it comes to messaging. So I'll give an example. When there is a challenge made to any kind of a policy or procedure, we'll go outside for direction and assistance, which we never did. The support that we got and the direction from Justice Michael Tulloch on the whole carding issue was huge, but it gave us a great pathway to success in terms of customer service because it clearly defined how we should be doing business. So there's a great example, I think, of going outside and having us. We have so many meetings with the community on an ongoing basis that people aren't afraid, especially community leaders aren't afraid to pick up the phone and call. Is Matt Moyer answers the phone because another unit commander will answer the phone because the chief will return the call. I don't know if we ever really did that, but that whole connectivity, that whole relationship building, It builds trust. It means we're not trying to hide anything. I think that's been a big change.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, just why is that trust so important? What does it allow you to accomplish?
Well, what it does is we can move forward with some of the programs and initiatives that we believe serves the best interests of our community. If you don't understand everything about traffic, but you see a ride program, you have to believe that when we pull people over and have that conversation, it's because we're trying to reduce and eliminate accidents and fatalities in our city, not because we want to look in the backseat of your car. We actually want to talk to the driver, the person responsible for driving it. And that requires trust. And that is an example of where we had to sell to the community and say to the community, you need to understand why we do the ride program, as an example. You need, so that's just one example, but that having that trust gives us the confidence to know that we're doing the right thing. So you've just talked about how the service has changed. What is there anything else that you would like the community to know about you, Matt Moyer, or the police officers that you work with, or the police service as a whole? Anything that you wish the public knew, that you say to your fellow officers, like, if they only knew, if they could only see this? So I thought about this before, because the one thing that I think is really important is there's a million untold stories. And there are so many policemen, women and men in this service, who are not always recognized for that tremendous investment they make into the care and customer service of people in the community. Whether it's that extra 2 minutes they spend in a conversation with a senior on a corner, or a young boy or young girl going to school, whether it's a victim or a complainant to a call, or even a spouse, like in a domestic assault situation. And yet they go on, they have this tremendous impact. They support and mentor and develop that relationship and look after people. And then what do? They clear and they go on to the next call. They don't wait around for the applause. The applause isn't coming, but that doesn't derail them. These people at our service, these officers, both like our civilian members and our sworn members, they are going out time and time again and fulfilling their obligation to customer service. And the stories never get told. They'll come home and tell their spouses or their partners, hey, this is what happened today. This is what happened today. And people will say, that's really great. You know, it sounds like you did a really good job. And for them, that's enough. There's no pat on the back for them, but there's so many good stories and there's so many great things they do that go unrecognized. And it's, that's what I would love the community to know, that just because you're not reading about us doesn't mean we're not doing great things. But in terms of me, my situation, I always tell people I'm lucky that I'm the same silly guy that came on the job 32 years ago. And look at me here, I'm still here and still enjoying it. I'm blessed. I've seen some great things going on in our service. I think we're in a really good place. We're very cognizant of our communities and what's going on in the world, and I think that all things are pointed in a good direction right now. So I'm glad to be a part of that until I'm not, until I have to go home and rake leaves, or what is it we do when we retire? I always forget.
You get on your walker and you break dance across the floor.
I might just with a can.
Are you close to retirement? Do you know how many years you're going to do?
I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know. So depends who you ask. If you ask my kids, they'll say, would you quit already? So if you ask the guys in the band, they'll say, why are you working? Makes no sense. So I don't know. Like I live in Toronto, like a couple of years. I think I'll do 35. I think I'll do 35. I'm still playing music, still playing hockey, still doing everything in my life. Nothing in my life has changed. I'm just adding grandchildren. That's all.
Exactly. And it must be pretty tempting to stop working when you cradle your tiny little grandchild with the little Blue Jays cap in your arms. But I think it probably speaks to how much you love the work that you do.
Yeah, I do. And that's, it's addictive. It really is. It's, you know, I think the very classic line of many are called, but few are chosen.
Mhm.
I'm surrounded by people that were chosen, and I remind them that every day, that not everybody can do what you do, and you do it well. So,
Mhm.
and I tell the people that that I work with, and I'm sure they appreciate it. But at the same time, I feel that as well. I'm very lucky, and I've been blessed with a great career and blessed with a great experience. And some of the stories are you just, we have an expression in policing: you can't make this stuff up.
Seriously, right?
And you know that
We have the
as
same
well.
in journalism, like the
Yes.
stuff that you see. And yeah, I mean, it just, and you know what, to an extent, just living in Toronto,
Yeah.
some of the stuff is just, you can't make it up. And it's just, that's one of the reasons I love that city so much. But yeah,
Yeah.
policing, you guys see everything.
Yeah.
You
And
see
we've had
everything.
great stories. My wife says you should write a book. So it's like, it's,
Okay, so that's maybe what you will do when you retire. Faded jeans, grandfathering, breakdancing on the walker, and book writing. How about that?
I will, I'll definitely give it some thought. I actually think there's a show to be had. I think there's a show. I don't think it's a book. So,
okay. I think with your background and some of your celebrity connections, you know, call some of the Second City guys, give Keanu a call. You know,
yeah,
Faded Jeans, I feel like could play a role. I feel a really good sitcom coming on.
there's always room for 8 tired Jewish guys. I keep telling you guys all the time, there's always a role. So,
I love it.
yeah. So
Matt, I just want to ask you quickly, you have a picture over your left shoulder. If you're comfortable sharing with us who that is, you have over your left shoulder there.
This boy, like, if you can see it there.
Yes. Is that your dad?
My dad.
Wow.
So my dad, the baseball player. So there you go.
Wow.
I brought it in on Father's Day, and it's funny. And then I moved from emergency management, public order down to traffic, and I just put it in the box and brought it down, and it just never made its way home. So, excuse me, but yeah, it's keeps my head in the game. They'll go over and have a look at my dad. So
I get the feeling that even though your dad died when you were so young, he still has such an influence on your life. Like just seeing him there on your desk and just the stories that you shared, would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I hope that you know, it's like not getting too serious on it, but that's the kind of thing that I hope my grandkids and my kids will reference when I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we laugh at. I said, to Deb and I said, where we're living right now is right across the street from a cemetery, and there's a cemetery just over at Mount Pleasant. And I went, that's my next move. I am tired of moving. I'm never moving again. So that's the last one. They're gonna have to pull me out of here. So, but
nobody likes to move, especially as you're getting older, right?
I know. So
I mean, you might need. Are you in a bungalow now? Because if you're not, you might need a bungalow when you're in your with your walker.
It looks like a big old cottage.
Perfect.
It's a big old cottage. I know.
Okay, good. You were thinking ahead.
I just find someone to do my laundry. The laundry's downstairs. So.
But maybe anyway, move the laundry upstairs.
I know. It's all working. We'll make it work.
There you go. Well, Matt Moyer, it has been such a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of your life with us. And I look forward to seeing some of the pictures of some of the things that you have referenced. I shall share them on social media. So thank you.
Now I will let everybody know. Thank you very much. This has been fun. So, and I appreciate your time and your patience.